listening to Erik Wadell Pause. We pause for a second or two. This is episode 21, Difficult Situation, Sleep. There is one difficult situation all of us have to deal with from time to time. And this is sleep. Sleep is something that can really frustrate us. Sleep is something we really want. Or at least we want sleep to be on our terms. It is not very easy or pleasant to hand over our control to sleep. We can feel powerless in the face of our sleep. When talking about sleep, there is a multitude of different issues we might be having with sleep. We might say we get too few hours of sleep, or we may say that we dream unpleasantly, nightmares. Or we might say that we sleep but we are tired anyway. We might have trouble falling asleep, lying awake for hours on end with thoughts spinning uncontrollably. We may put off going to sleep altogether. Stay awake, just stay up. So, against this context of this multitude of issues we might be having with sleep, what do we do? Well, that depends. It depends on what you want. Sleep can be many things to us. Sleep is not just one thing. So what you should do, what you want to do, depends on what you want. It depends on what sleep means to you. I can tell from personal experience. The first period of time in my life when I experienced that sleep became like an issue for me, like a difficult situation for me, was when I was 16 years old. And when my grandmother died. And I lived with my grandmother. We lived in this sort of generational house. So it was me, my brother, my parents, and my grandmother. And she lived in the on the floor beneath us. So when she passed away, I experienced my own sleep in a new way. So while she was alive, I never had any trouble falling asleep. I just fell asleep. But then when she died, I lay awake for many hours every night. And that was the case for half a year or so. So what sleep means to us depends. It depends on what is going on in our life. For me, my grandmother was she was a great personality. And when she was no longer there, I guess I had some things I needed to work out. And those hours when I lay there and couldn't fall asleep, thinking back on it, I think that those hours I spent lying awake every night, they carried great weight for me. When we think about sleep, there are many things connected with it. I would say that everything is connected with it. And it's not just a matter of getting sleep or not getting sleep. It's everything around it that matters. Where do I sleep? With whom do I sleep? When do I sleep? Or when do I try to sleep? So sleep is sort of like choosing a home. You can choose to live in infinitely many places. But building a home there are so many things going into it. And I would say that sleep and rest. I will talk a lot about rest in my podcast, but not today. Today I will focus on just sleep. But sleep is a lot like building a home. So, where do you sleep? And with whom do you sleep? These are things we should look at. And if I go back to thinking about when I was 16 years old and my grandmother had died, at the time I could not think of my situation as anything other than difficult and unwelcome. But now, 17 years later, I'm not really sure that my lying awake was that unwelcome, really. I think there was great intuition in it. And thinking back, I do not think that it could have played out any different way. Sometimes we are quick to call something a problem or call something a difficult situation. Going forward in this podcast and this material as a whole, when I talk about sleep, I will talk about predictability. Predictability is sort of like the goal for this situation. Our sense of predictability, that is. To take myself as an example, again. When my grandmother had passed away, my home life became more unpredictable. That is always the case when someone dies. Because we do not know what will happen. So, my family was 5 people. Me, my brother, mother, father, and my grandmother. And when she died, we were just for people. And these things matter. Where do we sleep? And with whom do we sleep? Who are in our home as we sleep? These things make all the difference. Often, when we have difficulties, emotional difficulties, or we find ourselves in a difficult situation, it can be the simplest of questions that we fail to ask. We tend to complicate things. And it is very logical that we complicate things, because as we are upset emotionally, us being upset creates complications. That's what we do. Where do we sleep? And with whom? I think, if I think about my grandmother, if she would have learned in some way in the afterlife that I had trouble sleeping after she passed away, I think that would have made her happy. So, when we think about our sleep, we should think about it in this way, that it can be so much more than just how many hours we get. How we feel about our sleep situation can tell us a lot about ourselves, how we feel about our lives and the people we live with. I think that was it, what I wanted to talk about today. Do you have anything on your mind?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe just I don't know if it's called an observation or just a thought. Something I thought when you said that in your example, your grandmother would in her afterlife probably be happy about that you couldn't sleep for a while. You know, that made me think that maybe we can, if we have problem falling asleep for a period in our life or all our life, maybe we can think about it as something not just negative, that it has a purpose for something. Yeah, that's just my thought.
I think so too.
Mm.
Mm. Mm. Mm. Thank you.
Thank you.